Hey guys, Matt back with Cass today. Today I want to talk you through what's the best focal length for portraiture. I have to say from the outset it is a matter of personal preference, but there's more to it than just the kind of bokeh you can create or the compression that the lens has. Let's take a look. Okay, so you would have heard, I'm sure, people saying that 85 or 100 mil is the ideal focal length for portraiture. There's a couple of different things to think about. First of all, I'll give some demo images here, but when we talk about compression that a lens creates, it's not so much that it stacks stuff up in the background, it's just what's the field of view that you get on the shot. If you try and recreate the same, say we're shooting from head to navel on someone at 24 mil, the amount of background you get is going to be very different than it is at 200 mil. Check this out.
Ooh, who's that handsome fella? There at 200 mil, the background's nicely obscured. Pulling back to 100 and you see, oh, he's in a park. And then at 24 mil, you just see everything. You can see the background just looks so different. I did a complete video on the 3 types of telephoto compression with Jade recently. You can check that one out by clicking on her now.
There's 2 aspects that I want to talk about beyond that though. One is distortion and how different lenses have different amounts of distortion, especially on the edges, and that will vary from lens to lens, but it's fairly comparable if we're just talking focal lengths. And the other one is the actual experience of shooting and how your relationship to your model works if you're at 24 mil or at 200 mil. So let's jump in. Today I'm going to be using the Nikon D800E, the 24-70 at the 24 mil end, assistant. Then the 50 mil lens, I'll be using the, I don't know if you'll be in there, come on in. The 50 1.4G. Next, actually the fat one. The 85 mil, 1.4G, so that'll give us another perspective. Then the 105 f2, what's it called, defocus control lens, and then my hands are full so you just hold it up. The 70 to 200, so from 105 we'll go to 135 and then 200 mil, and I'll show you the resulting images, how they look, and what it means in terms of how we can shoot the scene. Okay, so obviously there's all different crops that you might be going for on your shoot. You may be wanting to go head to toe, to knee, to waist, to just head and shoulders. For this, just to replicate the frame, we're gonna go for navel to top of the head. So at 24 mil on a full frame camera, that means, excuse me as I just get right up into creepy town, I'm going to be this close. And for those of you, in case it's not clear from the shot, I can pretty much touch her there. So depending on the shoot, the rapport you want to have with your model, that may be perfectly suitable. In other kinds of shoots, if it is, for example, someone in a swimwear shoot and you don't know them that well, then shooting that close may just creep them out entirely. So something to think about.
At 24 mil, the image is distorted. What can you say? Her head is elongated. Anything near the edge of frame is going to be stretched. You can use that creatively, but if you want to represent the body accurately, it's not the best.
At 50 mil, obviously, your focal lengths do work in that way. 24 mil at 2 meters away is the same as 48 mil at 4 meters away. So we're going to get to go twice as far back for that one. Okay, so now we're on the 50 mil 1.4. I've had her step back just a little bit to make sure we don't run out of room too quickly. Okay, so different kind of perspective. You can already notice there that the distortion is falling off though, I hope. Okay, next up with the 85 mil 1.4G, I come that little bit extra back. Now, of course, you're not going to see the compression effect that you would get on the background. I've demonstrated that in different videos, but 85, generally, you're free of the distortion that's stretching things to the edges. So that's no longer an issue. And now we've got 3 times as far between us as we did at the 24 mil end.
Please keep in mind, I'm just taking this frame to replicate the scene from navel to the top of the head. I don't think that's a nice crop or a particularly good swimsuit shot. Here's another one taken at 85 mil in the studio, same day, much more flattering from that further back perspective. I just want to show you with exactly the same crop across all these images.
Okay, another small step back and we're on the 105, same basic crop. And again, we have very little distortion, well, no distortion. That's her beautiful profile, there's no changes there. Okay, so nice, and next up, let's go to the 70 to 200 and do 135. Nice. Just gotta keep in mind, yeah, we've only got the one flash, that's okay. Do you have a preferred side? No. Okay. Okay, shoulders back. Just lift this shoulder up a little. There you go. Lovely. You're doing marvelously. Okay, and at 200 mil. Okay, so at that focal length, absolutely no distortion. If anything, there'd be a little bit of pin cushioning where it's pulling it into the middle, but on a top quality lens like the 70 to 200, you're really not going to notice it unless you're shooting brick walls, and why would you bother doing that? The difference really though is your experience of shooting with the model. Here I'm practically across the room, and if I wanted to be shooting head to toe, I would really need her at one side of the room and me right at the other side of the room, and then you're pretty much yelling at the person. So there's two things. One, if you want to change settings, you know, you got a little walk to go on to do it, but it's just a less personal way of shooting. Not that one is necessarily better than the other, but keep it in mind. For me, I normally will do my portraiture on most of the time 85 to 105, but I do sometimes go to 50, and to be honest, I sometimes shoot at 24. If you really want to drink in all of that background, then going in nice and close on someone, just be aware of the distortion. I actually have shot portraits at 14 mil before. Here's a sample, excuse the boobs. If you do notice a bit of distortion, the legs look crazy long, which a lot of subjects won't really mind. But if you want to drink in all of that background, great, go wide. If you want to compress it, or if you just want to avoid distortion, go with a longer focal length, anything above 50, and you're likely to be safe. And from there, it depends on what sort of results you want to create and the rapport you want to have with your model when you're actually shooting.
Okay, so everything I went through there was for full frame or FX cameras. Now, there's a couple of different things I talked about there: compression, field of view, distortion, and interaction with your subject. Now, compression and distortion are absolutely dependent on your lens. So if you're using a crop censored camera on a full frame lens, the compression you get and your depth of field and all of those kind of things is determined by your lens, and you're just getting a central crop of it. Distortion, you kind of get lucky if you're shooting a crop camera, because generally, especially at the wide angle, most of the distortion is on the edges, so you're going to miss most of that because you're only taking the central part of the frame. But because you're only using that central part of the frame, if you want to maintain the same frame on the person that you're shooting, you're going to need to move that much further back to retain that. So you are going to have a difference in terms of the way that you interact with them and the field of view that you get on that particular lens.
So that's pretty much it. Big thanks again to Cass for coming along to shoot with us. It's been fun. Jump over to the website, sign up for the mailing list, and get involved on the community forum. See you soon.
You can check the full video I did explaining telephoto compression with Jade here. And I actually met Jade at one of the workshops. Here's some behind the scenes from the recent Sydney one. You can find out all the details on my upcoming workshops in the caption below.